what happened 15 years ago as I was leaving AIT, which is individualized training in the Army. I was sexually assaulted. I was raped. I was at a McDonald's. I had signed out of my unit in the military, and I went to a McDonald's. I was eating breakfast, and I walked across the parking lot to the mall. It was still too early, and the stores hadn't opened up yet. As I was walking out, this gentleman asked me what time the mall opened, and I told him it was 9. And then he asked me where I was going, and I told him I was going across the street. He asked me if I needed a ride, and I told him no. He asked me again, and I told him no once more. And the third time, I said yes. I was 18 at the time, and I thought the world was good. It was around Valentine's Day, and he asked me if I would go with him to a drugstore to go get a Valentine's Day card for his mother, and I said yes. When he took me back to drop me off at my hotel room, he asked me if I would let him use the restroom, and I said yes. And he came upstairs, and that is where he raped me. How did I feel? I felt broken. I felt betrayed. I felt alone. I felt that no one would ever want me. I felt like my world had just completely collapsed. What did I do? The next day, I had to get on a plane and fly back home because I was given 2 weeks before I flew to my first duty station in the Army. So I put on a brave face and I went home to be with my mom and my grandparents. The only person that I told was my recruiter, and I begged him not to say anything. For 2 weeks, I buried everything inside, and I didn't tell anybody back home. And it was awful. It was awful being at home and not telling my mom, not telling my grandparents. Immediately right after the rape, though, I did call the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department did come. I was taken to the hospital. A rape kit was performed. I reported it. I did everything on my part that I needed to. And then I flew home the next day. How has this impacted my sex life and intimacy? Initially, it took the meaning of sex away. Before the rape, I used to view sex as something special, something meaningful. And then after the rape, I felt broken. I viewed sex as something dirty. And then I became promiscuous for several months, probably for a year. There was no meaning to sex. Sex was just sex. There was nothing special about it. It took me a while to find meaning to intimacy again. It took me finding my husband now, to find that specialness behind intimacy and sex. But for a long time, I just viewed it as sex being sex after the rape occurred. What advice would I give to someone that has been sexually assaulted or raped? My advice to you is to speak up. Although I took the right steps in reporting it and getting my sexual assault rape kit done, I didn't tell anybody else. I have dealt with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and I didn't come out publicly with my story until a year ago. It has been 15 years since my sexual assault happened. My advice, don't stay quiet. Don't do it. There's power in our stories. Say something. Because we can all help one another. And by staying quiet, that's what the world wants you to do. That's what society wants you to do. And I will no longer stay quiet. We need to stand up. We need to speak up. And we need to be there for one another. So if you have been sexually assaulted, reach out to someone. Reach out to me. There are resources that are available. And I didn't know that when I got sexually assaulted. I didn't know that when I was raped. And I wish that I did. When something like this happens to you, you think that you're so alone. And you're not. There's places that you could reach out to. So reach out. Look for resources. I just started a nonprofit. And there's so much help out there. So reach out to organizations like RAIN or Voices Against Sexual Assault. And you have a voice. Don't stop. Don't stay quiet. There is power in your story.